All right, QMJHL fans, welcome back to our Monday night Facebook Live sessions. Today we have Victoriaville defenseman Frédéric Brunet who's with us. Frédéric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks to you.
And as always, fans, we're going to remind you can always throw in your questions or anything you might want to ask Frédéric in the comment section, and we'll pull them up as we go. So, Frédéric, for people who don't know, you were drafted to the NHL last summer by the Boston Bruins. It's right on this side. So we got the Bobby Orr jersey out for you. But yeah, just to take us through that whole experience. How was that? Obviously, being in Montreal, a Quebec-born kid. How was that whole draft experience for you?
I mean, like you said, being in Montreal, I could have a lot of family coming to the draft with me. I had my uncle who came from California to come see me to my draft, and special experience for sure. I had my billet from Rimouski that was there too. So a lot of people that helped me through this journey so far. So just being in Montreal as a Quebec guy, like when I got drafted, it was in the 5th round, and like there was a Quebec scout in the Bruins staff. So when I got drafted, it was they said to him to take the mic and say it in French. So when I got drafted, they spoke in French in the Bell Center. So it was kind of special for me to hear it from the French language, but unbelievable experience, and like couldn't put it in words how I was feeling at this moment, but it was incredible.
What about getting drafted by the Bruins? You know, I'm guessing this is a wild guess. You didn't grow up a Bruins fan.
No, growing up in Quebec, I was a big Abs fan, but being drafted by the Bruins, I think I have no choice to switch. But I mean, I'm still a Abs fan in my heart, but I think I'm going a bit for the Bruins now.
Now, did you enter that draft with any expectations at all? I'm sure everyone going through their draft year has pressure on them, but yourself, I mean, had you set any goals, expectations, or you just went in with a clean sheet?
But at my first year of eligibility for the draft, and at my 17 year, like I was going into the draft with like not big expectations, so I didn't get drafted this year, obviously, but I got invited.
Okay.
And my second year, I did well, very well. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to the draft a bit more confident than the year before. And the year before, I had an invite, so I'm like, it could happen. So my agent was doing like, yeah, I think it's gonna happen, but don't put too much like expectation, because if it doesn't happen, like it's not the end of the world. But I was going into the draft confident, like I said, and when it happens, it was incredible.
Now, when you're saying you weren't drafted in your draft year, but you got an invite instead, was that by the Bruins?
No, it was by Florida Panthers.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
How was that first taste of action, getting to play hockey with some palm trees outside?
yeah, that was awesome. Going to the rink at 30 degrees outside in shorts, and it was awesome. It's such a different world out there, and being in Florida and playing hockey at the same time, I don't know. In my head, it didn't fit at all. But I mean, playing a couple of weeks in Florida was awesome. It was a great experience.
For sure. But at least you ended up getting drafted by an original six franchise, so there's a
Yeah,
lot of history
yeah,
there. No, not
yeah,
the greatest weather in Boston. It's pretty similar to us over here, but
yeah.
definitely a more storied franchise.
Yeah, it's story franchise for sure, and it's crazy to be drafted by an original six. I could have dreamed about it.
Speaking of craziness, I mean, the story was put out there. I read it, I think, on NHL.com earlier, but you got to work out with Patrice Bergeron. So how about getting a foot in the door with the Bruins guys already?
Yeah, I mean, this was like, that was not planned at all. Like we were doing a practice in Quebec, and we trained with the same trainers. So sometimes we cross each other in the gyms and at the ring sometimes. And I was speaking in the room about like the test that we had to go through in Boston, and we had
Hmm.
a big air bike test and for the conditioning and everything. So I'm like in the room, we don't have this in our gym in Quebec. So I was speaking with my trainer. I'm like, yeah, where can I practice it so I can be ready for the camp? And he's like, I think you're gonna need to pay to go into another gym, because there's none in in this gym. So I'm like, yeah, okay. And like Bergeron was like sitting next to me and was getting dressed, and he's like, no, he doesn't need to pay. You can do it at my home, no problem. So I'm like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, you come text me when you want to do it, and we'll set it up together, and we'll train together. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So we ended up texting each other like the next week, and I got to his home and everything. So I got bagged at this moment, but it was an awesome experience for sure.
Oh, that must be unreal. And that was before you got even drafted by the Bruins?
No, that was after.
After, nice.
Yeah.
So it's basically you guys got to discuss a little bit about the ongoing team and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was awesome. We were speaking about the guys, and I was asking questions like a little fan, and that was very nice.
Now, what kind of bike is it that they didn't have at the gym that he has at home?
It's like an assault bike, and I call it an air bike, but it's like you
Oh,
go
the
with
ones
your
you got.
arms, and
Your
yeah,
arms go like this when you pedal?
yeah,
Oh, God.
that's a big test in Boston, and it's very hard, but you need to practice it before so you can be ready.
And I'm sure in Boston, Chara's got the bar set this high from his
Yeah,
previous testing.
for sure.
So you were mentioning the bike part. Obviously, you got to taste that in Boston, but I want to go through basically your first training camp. So maybe we'll start by if you could tell us your welcome to the NHL moment. I mean, what's the first thing when you got to camp with the Bruins that you're like, wow, that's so much different than what it is in junior?
When I got drafted, like the week, not even the weekend after, I flew to Boston right away. It was Def Camp right away, so I started to go in Boston, and I'm like, I had a taste of it in Florida. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be the same thing and everything, but like organization is so different, and everything is like everything is similar but different at the same time. So I was going in like with a bit of knowledge about the NHL, but like I think the Bruins is another step in like you said in the original six, so it's another step in the NHL for sure. But when I got there, that like the first Def Camp, like there was no pro guy there. It was like only Providence guys, so AHL, the rookies in the Providence. So after I got back, that was like a little taste of Boston. But when I got back to Boston for the training camp, I stayed for the main camp, so that means like the big guys were coming in and everything.
Oh yeah.
I think when I realized because in Florida I didn't make it to the big camp, so I didn't practice with the pro guys and everything. Like I stopped before this, but when I did the main camp, like I did my practice with Pasternak and Swayman in the net, Lindholm and the defense, and that was crazy. Like my eyes was open like this, like on the ice. I was like freaking out, and like, what the hell is happening here? I'm on the ice with like the best guys in the world. Like Pasternak, we were doing a 2-on-2 drill. First practice, I'm there. I turn my head, like there's black and whites, and I'm white and he's black. I'm setting up for the drill. I'm looking at my left, and like I'm going against Pasternak. I'm like, oh no, that's not good. Like, oh no, I go 2-on-2. And it ends up like it's man-to-man when you play 2-on-2. So I end up against Pasternak too.
Yeah.
So he comes on me with the puck. I'm like, oh no. He does a slick move, score on me. I'm like, I mean, I don't look that bad because it's Pasternak. So I just
exactly.
got my lane, and
he does that to the top guys too. So
yeah, I mean, I wasn't disappointing at all, but like you said, I was my yeah, I'm there. I'm in the NHL and training camp, so that was my big moment that that played a lot in my head for sure.
And obviously getting drafted is a little bit of that too. The team liked you. That's why they picked you. They chose you pretty much. So it must be rewarding at some point too.
Yeah.
But getting the face off against Pasternak and seeing all those big names, I know they have Lindholm now. They have McAvoy, who's a stud on D2. I mean, do you sort of like compare yourself to those guys? Or are you trying to take notes and, trying to bring back the most, being a sponge pretty much,
Yeah,
taking as much as you can?
I'm trying to be a sponge because I don't think I'm ready yet to compare myself to these guys because they're stud and like they're a bit older than me. Like this is not comparable right now, but
yeah,
I'm still very young and I have I think a bright future in front of me, and I think I just need to like I said, be a sponge and take everything I can when I go to the training camps, because these guys like I've been in my shoes and they know what to do in this situation. So I just need to soak it all up so I can be ready for the next year and the next year after, so I can be NHL ready one day.
And speaking of being NHL ready, I mean, you obviously coming back from those camps, you obviously get some tips and some pointers. What are some of the things the Bruins told you to work on or improve on during the year? Did they give you specifics?
But I was like, when I came into Boston, like everybody knows when they watch me, I'm an offensive D-man, like offensive minded. So I think they said to me like, focus a bit more on your zone, on your own end, because like when you play in the next level, like a defense needs to defend. Like it's in the word, like you cannot just play offense. And I'm not saying I'm just playing offense and just don't care about my defense, but I think there's a lot to work on my defensive part. And since like I can say my first year in junior hockey, I think I've come a long way. It's from the first point I was there. Like I couldn't play defense at all, but I had a great coach in Rimouski that helped me through a lot to improve my defensive side. But I think that's the biggest part that they said to me, like improve your defense and everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and obviously that's what the NHL is all about. You got to know how to defend if you want to play the big minutes too. So they won't. I think at that point everyone's able to put up stats. But it's kind of funny how you say you're trying to say that you're night and day from your defensive game, that when you came into the league, but your offensive side also blew up compared to the first season you played in the Q this year and last year, were just got you on the map offensively. Is there anything that you changed in your game that just get that offensive momentum?
I think as like when you play it through the years in the junior hockey, like the guys are starting to get a bit younger, and that plays a lot in your head too. So when you come in, you're 17, you don't know what you're doing. Like you're looking at the 20 years old, and you're like, yeah, I'm not there yet, and your confidence level is not high because sometimes you get scratched, sometimes you don't play a lot, sometimes you like when you do mistakes, it plays a lot in your head, and you're not ready to go back on the ice right away, like because you're like, am I gonna get benched because I did this? If I do this, is he gonna be mad or something? So you're just thinking too much when you're young. But once you go through, you build a sort of confidence. And I think being an offensive D-man, you need to have confidence with the puck. And I think through the years, just my confidence skyrocketed, and I think it showed in the paper. But I don't think I'm just watching the stats at this point because it goes farther than this. But I think it was like through the years, I think I've improved a lot on the offensive side too.
And it's great. You have great self-awareness. You know exactly what you need to work on, what to improve, what the things you needed to fix and everything. And obviously, the confidence is big. It's huge in hockey. It makes a whole world of a difference.
Yeah.
But you also come from a great background, athletically, should I say, having a family that has very close ties to the Olympics. So I'm just going to go over it for the fans that are listening. And you have a brother who's trying to make the Olympic team in speed skating. Your father went to the Olympics as a figure skater, and you have an uncle who also went to the Olympics as a freestyle skier. So, any pressure at all to make the NHL now that they're all Olympians around you?
Yeah, my aunt too made the Olympics, and she won it. And she won it.
Yeah, wow. Sorry about that. If your aunt's listening out there. But
I don't want to miss her out because I know she's listening somewhere. So, but I mean, like you said, I'm very lucky to have these people around me to help me through this journey, because there's a lot in the mental side of the game. Like I need to learn still, even with these people around me, and I think they help me every day, and to just play my game and have fun, because that's the main part of why you're playing sport right now. And I think sometimes you put a bit too much pressure on yourself, and that shows on the ice. And I think they're just there to tell me to relax and have fun, and just telling me the basics and the fundamentals to make it to the next level. And I think they're playing a big part in my success right now.
And obviously having an aunt and an uncle who are skiers, it's very, very similar to skating, but it's not like skating actually. But having a father who's a figure skater, he must have been your first skating coach, I guess.
Yeah, I was born with skates in my feet for sure. I mean, I did figure skating for a couple of years, but didn't click at all for me. I have a lot of stories with my dad, who was telling me, and
feel free to throw one out there right now. Let's go.
I did a couple of sessions of figure skating, but it didn't end up well because I wasn't liking it at all. And I was always telling my father, my feet are cold, my hands are cold, my helmet's too tight. And one day my dad just yeah, you don't want to do it. We'll just stop bringing you there. And it didn't stop. But yeah, for sure, having my dad as a figure skater played a lot with my skating, and it's my biggest strength today, and it will be for the rest of my career for sure.
For sure. And it's a great, with today's game, it's a great aspect to have and a great skill to master, put it that way.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, your dad must be a solid skater, but I'm guessing your brother is as well. How was that whole rivalry? Your brother played hockey for a few years, then he just quit to focus on speed skating. You guys have an ongoing rivalry as, who the fastest guy is, or, how do you guys use that to your advantage?
Yeah, growing up, it was always a competition between me and my brother, like in everything, like stupid things, like playing PS4, playing like everything was a competition. And like when we go on the rink, still today, we go at like the outside rink, and like it's no mercy. Like everybody, like we want the puck and we want to humiliate the other guy because we want to be the best and everything. And I think that's the biggest positive thing for having a brother is like you always push each other. So I think that played a lot through the years because we always competition each other. So when we played hockey, we played the baseball together. I did some speed skating too, and like it was always a competition. So I think that played a lot through the years for sure.
Now, if we put you on the same level with the same type of skates, because obviously if he wears his own, who's the fastest guy?
I need to give it to him. I need to.
What about backwards?
I think backwards I got him. Yeah, for
There
sure.
you go.
Yeah, I got him.
You got to take one edge where you can get
Yeah,
him.
I got one. You got one.
There you go. You were mentioning earlier, we just briefly talked about it because people on screen can see. Obviously, you're a member of Victoriaville now, but you were recently traded from Rimouski, where you were actually team captain before. Did that sting? Were you expected to get traded? How did that all go down?
Like junior hockey is like a lot of cycles and everything. So if you don't end up in the right one, there's a lot of chance that you're gonna get traded if you're wanted at somewhere else. And I had some good talks with Serge, the head coach in Rimouski, and like we were talking about it a lot. And like he was saying, like I know there's a lot of teams calling for you and everything, but I'm not gonna let you go for free. And even if you stay here, it's gonna be a good thing for us. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And after I called him and I said, yeah, there's a lot of confidence there, so feel free if you want to keep me and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he called me the next day and was like, yeah, I couldn't say no, Fred. Like it's junior hockey, and I need to do this for the sake of the team. And I understood it 100%, and I'm zero mad at Serge for doing this. I'm so proud to have been sorry, an oceanic in my careers. They gave me everything. They gave me my chance. They improved me as a player, but as a person too. And I think just the trade, there's nothing negative in this. I'm not mad at anybody, but it was just it stung a bit because like it was my third year there. I was captain. Like it was tough to hear the news, but after if you look at from the back, I think it's a good thing for both sides.
Yeah, and obviously you're helping them out with the assets they get in the trade, and then you personally get a shot at at legit trying to win a cup or go for a title now.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you were mentioning earlier, confidence is big in the difference and everything, but what are some of the things you felt like you learned in Rimouski that you can take to Victoriaville with you?
There's a lot of things I could say because like I have so much in my mind right now. But one big thing I could say like is playing the right way at the right time, because sometimes I I want to do a bit too much as a player, and like I want to carry everything on my shoulder. But like they made it clear with me at since day one, and it's like you're not gonna do everything by yourself, and you have teammates for this. And I think that's the biggest part of being in a team sport, that's trusting your teammates. And I think there's nothing that relies on one person's shoulder. And I think the biggest thing I learned in Rimouski, that it's teamwork that does the dream work, like with the quote, because we saw it in the past 2 years when I played in Rimouski. We didn't have the best team, but I mean, we eliminated the Shawinigan the first year I was there. The second year we took St. John out, and like that's where you see like there's a lot more in the game than just the talent. And you need to be there's need to be a chemistry in the team. You need to respect each other, and everything goes through the chemistry that you guys have together. And I think the biggest thing I can take from Rimouski is teamwork, like work ethic, not even some hockey stuff, like just doing the right things.
Hmm. Even just from what you said, I can add one thing to there. You're taking leadership to Victoriaville because that was a perfect answer too. So everything that you've worked on, it shows you're a veteran. It shows you've been there before, and you can take that into the locker room too.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that you played for Salge before in Rimouski and in that type of system, I know Rimouski's always been known as one of those teams that, shut you down. They're great defensively. Now you get traded to Victoriaville, who are at the top of the league standings, but they're pretty much similar in that style. They love to play defensively. They love to shut down opponents. I mean, it's very hard to score against them. Do you feel that helped your transition playing into some similar systems?
I think the transition has been transferred very well with Cal, the head coach, and Victo, because like we talk to each other a lot since I came in, because like different system and different everything. But like you said, it's a bit similar because they don't allow a lot of goals, and it's the same thing with Rimouski. So they're conscious about their defense. I think this is important in the game, and that's why I think my transition is being a bit more quick than I thought, because like some things are similar and there's some things that are very not similar, and I'm gonna learn it for sure. But I think the basics are like kind of the same thing. So I think my transition is going very well so far.
And I know you were discussing with me before we got on air earlier that you were familiar with Tommy Cormier too. How was that, walking into the locker room having a familiar face to rely on?
I mean, like I said to you earlier, I knew him through the summer, and I think when I got traded, I texted him right away. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming in and everything. And like the week before, fun story, fun fact, when I played in Victo, I was still in Rimouski. We beat them 9-0. And like things didn't end up well, like very not. So that was
Yeah.
not good. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to Victo for sure if I'm getting traded, because things like got out of hand and everything. And when I got on the ice, like the only guy I knew on the other team, it was like Tommy Cormier, like you said. And like this in the second period, I just smoke him center ice. And I'm like, oh no. Like when I got traded, I'm like, are you still mad you didn't text me when I got traded? And he's like, I'm not mad, stop it, and everything. So we start talking to each other. I'm like, yeah, is there some room in your billet so we can be together? I think my transition in my head, if I'm with Tommy in my billet, like the transition would be a bit easier for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think there's some room. And he's like, yeah, and he's gonna ask his billet. So the billet said yes, and here I am today, and with Tommy in my billet and everything. So the next day we got to the rink, and I got to meet everybody. So I think with Tommy next to me, and I knew him, so he was just presenting the boys to me, and everything was fine. Yeah.
So you were saying when you guys crushed Victo 9-0, you thought you were never going there. Maybe it's the flip side that happened. They saw something great in you and they're like, I need that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have a question that popped up in the comments here that I'm going to bring up on screen. So someone's asking, Joseph Tashka here is asking, what was it like playing in a remote city like Rimouski so far from home? Any
What is
adaptations you had to do?
remote city? I don't know.
It means basically playing far from home, a little bit out of the big towns.
So I think like it's a big adjustment for me when I was in Gatineau, because like it was very far from my home. I was like 8 hours 30 from my parents, and
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it. But I think through the years you get used to it, and yeah, you get attached with your billet. Like my billet in Rimouski, it was my third year there, and I could say they were my dad and my mom. Like it was, I was
Yeah.
that close with them, and it was awesome living there. And like the first year, I was like, yeah, I'm not made for this. Like I'm so used to be with my mom and my dad at my home, so cozy and everything. But like when you switch up, it's very tough. It's very
Yeah.
tough to switch from to go to your home to go to somebody you don't even know in your billet. I think that's the biggest part of playing junior hockey, is like you're getting into someone's house that you don't very know at the beginning. So
Yeah.
that played a lot for me at the beginning of my career. I didn't feel well a lot in Rimouski because I was far away from home. But once, like I said, through the years you get used to it, and I loved it. And you just need to give yourself a little bit of time. So once you get a bit comfortable, everything's going fine, and everything was so fun in Rimouski.
And obviously, like you're saying, it's a little scary leaving home at, 15, 16, 17 years old when you've been there your whole life. And then you're actually 8 hours away from home. So it's scary,
Yeah,
but I guess it helps you become a man at the same time.
yeah.
So you're mentioning you were born in Gatineau and grew up in Gatineau, I guess. Were you an Olympics fan growing up?
I mean, I went to a lot of games when I was young to the Olympics, but I think I wasn't like a big fan of the Olympics. I was following a bit of junior hockey at this time, but not a lot. I was following a lot of the NHL. I wasn't like going to every Olympic game, but I mean, I was going a decent amount with my buddies, but not because I was a fan, just because I love watching great play of hockey.
Yeah, for sure. Growing up as an NHL fan, who was your team and who was your player?
My team was the Montreal Canadiens, like I said earlier, and my player was PK Subban.
Oh, for sure. You're flamboyant, offensive-minded D-man.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, so we're going to finish off on that, Fred. So thanks a lot for taking the time. Obviously, best of luck with Victoriaville the rest of the way. We're going to hope that trade is going to pay off for everyone involved. So again, thanks for taking the time. Best of luck, and thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks.